There's a difference between being a great player and being in great form. So although there are plenty of all-time greats that are still playing today, I'm going to be looking at the most in-form players, meaning the criteria is this season only. Now, there are a lot of players that come to mind. However, today, we're going through the top 5 most in-form players in the world currently. So without further ado, let's get into it. Coming in at number 5 is a player that's really come alive towards this second half of the season and is showing no signs of slowing down. And that is Bruno Fernandes. Despite Manchester United's terrible start to the season, they're now comfortably in a top 4 race, with Bruno Fernandes being their main man. Now, one thing I took into consideration with this list is the impact they have on their own team and how important they are. He's come up with crucial assists and goals to get them into the position they're in, with currently at the time of recording 12 assists in the Premier League. He's definitely looking to break that record. But GA aside, he's the main chess piece in that team, controlling the midfield in big games like Arsenal and City. So for that reason, he comes in at my 5th spot. Now, for my 4th spot, this leans in a lot more on the aspect of being important for their team, as when it comes to picking an MVP for his team, his name is probably the first name that comes out, and that is Declan Rice. Him and Gabriel are probably the 2 names that I think of, but based on the fact that Rice has been in form pretty much the whole season, with no off days, I've went with Rice. Many pundits and analysts are calling him the best midfielder in the world. Although I don't necessarily agree with that statement, his passing accuracy and control in midfield is definitely world class. He's racked up 14 GA across all competitions, but what I appreciate most, and the main reason he made it here, is because of his consistency. Does all the basics and fundamentals right, and overall deserves to be on this list. Now, slotting in just ahead of him in 3rd place is another midfielder, also in the Premier League, although being below Rice in the table, it's Dominic Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai has been hands down a one-man army for Liverpool this season. One of, if not the only bright spark in that team. You could argue Rice deserves to be ahead of him, but the way he grabs a game this season is something that Rice has barely done. His standout performances have rescued Liverpool many a times, with the most notable being his string of free kicks. Champions League, Premier League, it doesn't matter. He drops an 8 out of 10 minimum. Now, getting into the top 2, we finally move away from the Premier League and land in the Bundesliga. Harry Kane comes in as the 2nd most informed player in the world right now. Kane is putting up an all-timer campaign this season. At the time of recording, sitting at 41 goals and 5 assists. I mean, this one is self-explanatory. Considering they're 1st in the Bundesliga and finished 2nd in the Champions League phase, they can win serious silverware this season. But remembering this is just individual performances only, Harry Kane can arguably be 1st just purely for the numbers he's putting up. And sometimes when these are the kind of numbers we're dealing with, they just have to slot into the list with not much to say. Now, before I get into my number 1 spot, there was a lot of players that missed out that could have easily been on the list, and I believe they deserve a shout out. So for my honourable mentions, as I mentioned before, Gabriel, Michael Olise, Vitinha, Luis Diaz, Erling Haaland, and Lamine Yamal. Now, like I said, all these players have an argument to be in the top 5 and maybe even number 1. But for me, the most informed player in the world right now is Kylian Mbappe. Similar to Kane, his numbers are wild. 38 goals and 6 assists. I mean, it feels like any time I check a Madrid game, he's on the scoreboard. Likewise with Kane. But the reason I have Mbappe ahead of him is once again the importance factor when it comes to his team. With manager trouble and certain players not performing, Mbappe stays one of the only players in that team that continuously performs. However, when you look at Kane, he's got many teammates that are performing just as good as him, with easier competition in the Bundesliga. At times, it does feel like Mbappe is in charge of Madrid, and side note, I am loving the dictator Mbappe memes, but if you look at form only, he comes in at my number 1 pick. With that being said, those were my top 5 picks. Now, it was difficult making this list because of how many options I had to pick from. So I'd love to hear your top 5 and whether you agree with mine or not. I would also really appreciate it if you guys liked and subscribed. I'm a new channel and I'd love to keep making videos. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and once again, please let me know your top 5 in the comments below.